Hey guys, I've got Squire and I have American Strat. With the Squire, the tremolo is different. The body of the guitar is thinner. The cavity in the where you screw the tremolo arm into the block is different. Now, Leo had set this up originally with a little, real small spring that where you drop that spring into the hole where the tremolo arm screws in, then you screw that in, and that helps eliminate wobble, where the tremolo arm wobbles back and forth instead of having direct contact. My experience has shown me on my American Strat, my really expensive one, it doesn't really wobble that much. It's different. The whammy bar is a different. It's a smaller diameter and it's long. The threading is longer. On my Squire, it's a problem. It's a problem. People will say, "Oh, you can use PTFE." That's plumber's tape. It's nylon. It's real weird tape. It doesn't have any adhesive. It's for plumbing. And this is like Blue Monster brand. I don't know if this is a little thicker. Minimum 3 wraps required. And what I've read, people say for solving this issue for me, like 3 or 4 wraps around. Now I've got this other gray stuff. This was also a little bit more expensive, a little thicker. I really prefer the white colored. Like these are like gourmet or a little like next step up, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna get this and it'll last longer, it'll do a better job. Because the little secret that I will let out, my reality has shown me that stuff wears out. That it'll still be there, it'll compress itself. And then you have to remove it. And it's not easy. I would recommend a hobby knife and cutting it long ways and then picking it out. And if you have a wife or girlfriend and you're watching TV, go, hey honey, you like picking on stuff, don't you? You could give her a little meth. She can just pick away, clean them all up. Here is the white Teflon tape. That's the normal when you think plumber's tape. This is what you see. If you're going to use this, and if it's minimal, like if you have an American Strat and it's not wobbling that much, it's just a little bit, you can go ahead and use this. If there's more room and it's considerably wobbling, this is where you break out the big guns. This is 4mm heat shrink tubing. So you'll put this on here to measure it. You can see it fits right on there. Pull it back a little bit, maybe bend it over and cut it. When you have it all shimmed all the way up to the top here, you want a couple threads exposed. You don't want to have this so long that it covers the whole thing. You want it long enough, but having a couple threads to grab to get it started, that's how I do it. I don't use a lighter on my heat shrink tubing unless I have to, and if I do that, I will not have it. I'll have my lighter way up on it, so the blue part of the flame, the cooler part, is what is doing the business, not the hot end of the flame, because it will burn this, it'll discolor it, and then it starts, it gets brittle and breaks down. So ultimately, having a hair dryer to do your heat shrink, having an embossing tool, this is for pros. You can use a heat gun. That's the same thing. It's just a little smaller. It's not so giant. And I do a lot of soldering, so I like to have that because it's handy. So if you have a Squire, my recommendation, the best choice for the Squire is to put this on there. It's going to last way longer. Just be careful when you do it. Like, follow my advice. Have a couple of threads sticking out. Don't overheat it when you're applying the heat, and you'll be fine. I have a brass block in here, and right now I put, oh man, it's better than it. There is no There's no wobble in it. Now, to get nitpicky, so every video I make has to be like 20 times longer, because if I don't cover every base and explain everything, people come at me with an attitude like I don't know what I'm talking about. When these guitars were designed and when they were made properly, meaning when they weren't squires, they didn't have this problem as much. They also had a spring that you drop into the hole. Okay, you can order those springs from Fender. They're $9.99 for a dozen, and they work only for American and Mexican style. If you have a Fender or an import style, they don't work. They won't. You'll have to cut it, and even then, there isn't enough room in the cavity for the spring. So, if you have a American Strat, I would not recommend this. There isn't enough wobble in there. You can get the white Teflon tape for actually get the spring. Put the spring in there, and then keep the other 11 of them in the secret compartment of your case. You can use a little sticker, you can use masking tape, whatever you want to do to put something over the hole, so when you remove the whammy bar, you won't forget the next time you pick the guitar up and the spring goes flying. So a lot of people will have a little, like a colored sticker that they'll peel off and move it next to it, or a piece of tape. So there's tips for that. Other people will dip it in grease. They'll get it all greased up with that good old axle grease, and then install the spring, and then the axle grease is going to keep it in place. Other people don't use a spring. They will use cotton and claim that this works just fine. Me, in my experience, I bought springs and they were wrong. They were the wrong springs. I got them from some, discount, or it might have been AliExpress Chinese import. Then I got actual Fender authentic springs, and I couldn't believe how they're not springy, they're hard. That's why they work. I got those and I can't find them. So my American guitar, I'm gonna wrap it with Teflon tape. I'm gonna get the regular old cheapy. I got this blue demon, whatever it is, more expensive stuff. No, you don't want that. You want the real thin, and you want to cut it. You want to cut it like about that long. It's basically maybe even less. It's like about 3 or 4 times around. You want to do it opposite the direction of the thread. Is the best way they recommend you do it. And I would recommend you have, if you don't have yourself a nice pair of these are German, but right in front of me now, I've got hair cutting scissors, I've got Singer kitty scissors, and I've got Japanese bonsai trimming scissors. Then I have my German Schweinhund nostril trimming scissors. So if you haven't gotten into the scissors addiction yet, that's a whole nother can of worms. But as far as the Fender tremolo arm wobble, if you've got a Squire and it's bothering you and you're looking for an alternative, because trust me, 9 out of 10 people, when they see this video, they're going to want to comment, I just used the PTFE, that's always good enough for me. Well, good for you. Good for you. Because for me, it's good enough when I install it, and after playing for an hour, it's blown out. This gray stuff changes color to complete flat black when it blows itself out. So I don't understand chemistry of it or the physics of it, how it can do that, how it can like compress itself and force itself to move all the way up to the top into a big bundle mess that you can't unwind it. You have to pick it all apart. It takes a half hour. Like if that's what you like, that's fantastic. I'm super happy for you. And I don't understand why you would come on my channel and watch a video. But what has worked for me is this 4mm heat shrink tubing. It's really thin. Like you can the light is coming through this and I can see the light. I have other variety of heat shrink tubing here that's thicker. So this was some cheap. This says RESUOG tube. RESUOG tube is what it says on it. And this stuff I got this on AliExpress. I had a different heavier duty material that I put just on the top. I thought if I shimmed it at the top it would work. It didn't work the best, but you know, I like to chop these tremolos. I have a little vise. It's not a mini vise, but it's not a full size. So I'll wrap something around, you know, like I'll use like gas station paper towels and do a 4 wrap, and then clamp this down in the vise up to just past where the bend is. And to remove the plastic cap, you'll get really hot tap water and submerge this for 10 minutes in the tap water. Putting some gloves on, this will just pop right off when it's hot. Throw it back in the water. You measure 2 fingers and a little extra for good grace after clamping. Hacksaw it off. Use I had a file here. Well, trust me, you're going to want to file it smooth because it'll be sharp. And then you can pop the cap back on. If you want to wrap a little electrical tape, a little strip of tape to grab it. If you want to glue it with super glue or automotive epoxy to affix it, that's what I do. You're going to want to make sure you get it all the way down. And then an old work glove, you cut that off. You'll have just the leather finger part, and you can stick this threaded business end into the leather to protect it, clamp it in the vise, and then with back pressure and intent, carefully bend which way you want to adjust it to get the angle right. If you have the angle too low, like this one, like if it's sitting like that, it's going to bump into the volume pot. It's going to hit this. So I like to get it where, like, this is actually a little high. I like to get it where it just barely clears the volume pot. Bent properly like this, and also chopped down, it'll fit right in my palm. It'll fit real comfortably in my palm. And then where my fingers sit is right in between the top of the neck pickup and the bottom of the neck, which is where I like to pick my guitar for the most part. There'll be times where, like, coming up to a section with some lead work, I'll do a 4-chord in the D, and I'll move progressively to the treble end and get a real chimey twang, bend it down for an accent, and then pull the other 2 of those off, and then go into a little lead thing. That's something that I do for effect in one of the songs we're playing right now. So it's not always written in stone. Guitar is really an individual and really very expressive instrument. It's unbelievable that people are still coming up with new stuff on it, new techniques to get new sounds out of it. Not necessarily me, but I find having less play or wobble in my tremolo arm to be huge. I really don't want my tremolo arms wobbling. And you can apply the spring if you have a quality instrument, quality Fender that was designed for that spring to be utilized. If you have the more affordable budget or import guitars, you're left with a conundrum. You certainly can apply PTFE or plumber's tape. I do not recommend any of the fancy or colored stuff. The white, real thin stuff is where it's at. 4 times around, opposite, on the opposite direction that the threading is, and Bob's your uncle. For a longer lasting, more permanent solution, but you still may have to replace it. I don't know. That thicker piece that I had on there, it never went bad. So this might be my advice to you would be to use a it's not a micrometer, is it? This is coming up, and that'll tell you the measurement that you need. So if you're going to order special, you're going to want to make sure that your shrink boot is a little bit bigger, which this is a little odd in this case. I mean, the outside diameter of this versus the inside diameter, it's saying 4.3, but this is 4.0. That's what worked for me. And when you're ordering these, you need to like, there's a whole thing with looking it up where they come in different sizes. So that's where having something like this might be helpful. Anyway, you guys, I really do like the idea of a more permanent, semi-permanent solution for this problem. If you guys have any tips for me, I'm certainly not a master or anything. I just did this today and it worked, and I thought it might be worth sharing with you. I'll talk to you guys later, and